To use Azure Monitor with Azure SQL Managed Identity, start by enabling the Managed Identity for your Azure SQL instance. This allows Azure SQL to authenticate to Azure services without needing to store credentials. First, go to the Azure portal and navigate to your Azure SQL instance. Click on the SQL Server and select the Identity option under the Settings section. Toggle the status to On and then click Save. This enables the managed identity for your Azure SQL instance. Next, create a new Azure Monitor workspace or use an existing one. In the Azure portal, navigate to the Azure Monitor workspace and click on the Diagnostic Settings option under the Settings section. Click on Add Diagnostic Setting and select the Azure SQL instance you want to monitor. Choose the logs and metrics you want to collect and send to Azure Monitor. Then, configure the permissions for the managed identity to access Azure Monitor. In the Azure portal, navigate to the Azure Monitor workspace and click on the Access Control option under the Settings section. Click on Add Role Assignment and select the managed identity for your Azure SQL instance. Assign the monitoring contributor role to the managed identity. Now, you can start collecting logs and metrics from your Azure SQL instance and send them to Azure Monitor. In Azure Monitor, you can create custom dashboards and alerts to monitor the performance and security of your Azure SQL instance. You can also use Azure Monitor to collect logs and metrics from other Azure services and integrate them with your Azure SQL instance. Best practices for using Azure Monitor with Azure SQL Managed Identity include enabling the Managed Identity for all your Azure SQL instances, configuring Azure Monitor to collect logs and metrics for all your Azure services, and creating custom dashboards and alerts to monitor the performance and security of your Azure resources. By following these steps and best practices, you can use Azure Monitor with Azure SQL Managed Identity to improve the security, performance, and reliability of your Azure resources.